Layout per Node, a project from developers at the University of Texas, sets out to solve one of the central goals of Drupal's Blocks and Layout initiative, namely, and I quote, to bring unity to a system of disjointed output components, and emphasizing this part, to provide a standardized mechanism of output and new tools for placing content on a page. Moreover, this project's goal is to be a content placement tool that is simple and intuitive. If you're familiar with panels, another way of saying that is Layout per Node is a take on Panels Lite. This walkthrough summarizes Layout per Node's content building workflow, its minimal setup and configuration, and then provides commentary on the technical implementation and its niche within the Layout initiative landscape. Let's start with the actual use of Layout per Node, how a content builder would use it, and how it integrates into Drupal's content editing conventions. We start with a Drupal article node, consisting of body field, image field, tags field, and comments. Integrated with the View, Edit, and Delete tabs is a new Layout tab. Clicking on this tab enables the field layout region overlay, which defaults to the single content region. The Switch Layouts tab now becomes visible, and this provides an interface for switching between any of the allowed layouts for the given node type. These layouts are not provided by this module, but are part of the core layout discovery system, which allows modules to register their own layouts. Let's first switch to one of the Drupal-provided two-column layouts. Next, we will place content in the newly visible layout regions using any of the Add Content buttons at the base of each region. The Add Content overlay provides a listing of both our node-specific content, namely the body, image, tags, and comments fields, as well as content which is not associated with a specific node, that is, Drupal blocks, which are separated into custom block types and views blocks. The Add Content overlay provides a rendered preview of each available element to better disambiguate content. And now that we've added content to the regions, we have the ability to rearrange or remove elements via a drag-and-drop UI. Once we're satisfied, we can choose to save the layout, which creates a new node revision and saves the layout data. The ability to revision layouts not only enables reverting the content and the content placement, but also the ability to draft new content and content placement via Drupal's Workflows module. Now that we've seen the end product, let's see what it takes to integrate Layout per Node in a site. After enabling the module, visit any node type's Edit interface. A new Layout per Node vertical tab appears among the others. After ticking the On/Off checkbox, a list of all layouts registered via Drupal's layout discovery system appears. Once that is enabled, a new permission definition is added to the permission system for using the node's layout. In this sense, Layout per Node is treated as simply another facet of the content building permissions stack, alongside creating, editing, and deleting node content. Via these permissions, one site could allow some users to create content and others to manage its layout, while another site could grant separate roles to create and lay out content for each distinct node type. Panels, combined with Panels in-place editor and page manager, has been and continues to be one of the de facto approaches to content layout. It is perhaps the most comprehensive approach, allowing fine-grained control over elements such as field labels, views contextual filters, and view modes. Its information architecture is based on a per-page variant approach. Via Page Manager, one can create a page variant that would apply to all nodes, or all nodes of a specific content type, or even to a single node ID. The variant must, however, be defined. This level of control is typically the purview of a site builder rather than a content builder. Panels exposes all block types provided by modules immediately, and allows the ability to create new content via the in-place editor. Layout per Node differs in the following ways. It takes an opt-in approach for which block types should be made available. It relies on other parts of the system, such as the block interface or the node edit page, for creating content. And it does not allow per-instance configuration of blocks, for example, whether or not to display the block title. Perhaps the most significant difference, however, is how each approach handles node fields. Panels allows placing node content on a page via chaos tools, which allows access to entity view modes, and from there the user can choose between any predefined view mode to render the node content in different ways. However, this requires an appropriate view mode, once again typically the purview of site builders, not content builders, to exist. As a result, it doesn't directly allow placement of individual fields separate from each other. Layout per node thinks of fields and blocks the same way. They are individual bits of content that are placeable anywhere within the selected layout. The paragraphs module is fast becoming widely adopted as a tool for creating complex combinations of fields. As a fieldable entity, a paragraph type allows a lot of variety in clustering multiple fields together, and clever use of paragraph fields as layout selectors enables a lot of different display variants. However, paragraphs itself is not a layout tool, and content builders cannot arbitrarily place fields within any given region on a page. Paragraphs works best for sites where the layout architecture consists of stacked horizontal instances of field groupings, which is where the paragraph metaphor comes from. In the context of layout per node, paragraph types can be used as complex fields which can be placed anywhere on a layout. In the example here, I am placing a paragraph type that consists of a headline, image, and copy text as a single entity within any given region in the layout. These two modules can work in a complementary fashion to provide the layout flexibility that paragraphs doesn't provide on its own. Layout per node's responsibility within the Drupal content building ecosystem is narrow by design. By relying on the field layout paradigm, and therefore functioning at the node level, it's not dependent on regions defined by a given theme. Indeed, layout per node works equally with any theme. And here's a brief example of layout per node being used with the popular Bootstrap theme. By relying on the same layout discovery system as panels and display suite, it can be used in conjunction with them. Panels IPE can be used for one node type, and layout per node can be used for another on the same site. Moreover, layouts developed by and for one layout system can be used interchangeably with layout per node, provided they follow layout discovery standards. And here we see enabling the Bootstrap Layouts module immediately makes these layouts available. Finally, with its lightweight footprint, layout per node can be disabled without affecting underlying content. Layout will simply revert to the field layout defined in the content type. So, given the available layout approaches, which is appropriate when? Here's a suggested guide. When site builders are the content builders and are technically savvy, panels works. When site architecture requires fixed variants of page design that can be reused, panels again works. If some content needs fine-grained control and some needs a simple user interface, then you might consider having panels and layout per node enabled on your site. If panels does not feel user-friendly to your content builders, maybe consider layout per node. If panels grants too much control to your content builders, layout per node. If the site architecture requires complex field bundles but with limited layout options, then paragraphs might work. If the site architecture requires those complex field bundles but needs a flexible layout, then you could include paragraphs with layout per node and combine them. Thanks for watching. For more information, visit drupal.org/project/layout_per_node.